Have you ever walked into a busy coffee shop, looked at the long, confusing menu, and suddenly forgot how to speak English? With people waiting in line behind you, it can be terrifying. Welcome back to LevelUp English Podcast. Today, we are going to fix that. We will teach you the exact vocabulary and the magic formula you need to order your favorite coffee confidently without breaking a sweat.
Usually, when we talk about learning a new language, there's this underlying expectation of a really quiet, controlled environment.
Oh, definitely. Like a traditional classroom.
Right. Exactly. You picture a classroom, you have a textbook open right in front of you, a teacher is, guiding the pace, and crucially, you actually have time to think.
Yeah, time to process.
Yeah. You can pause, formulate your sentence in your head, and then speak. But then you step out of that classroom and into the real world. Specifically, you step into a bustling, modern coffee shop.
It's completely different.
It really is. Suddenly, all that controlled theory, it evaporates. I mean, you walk through those heavy glass doors, the little bell chimes, and it hits you immediately.
And sensory wall.
Yes, the overwhelming dense scent of roasted beans, and then the sudden really aggressive hiss of a steam wand aerating milk.
Right.
Plus the indie pop music playing just a little too loudly from those speakers hidden up at the ceiling.
It's a lot to take in at once.
It's so much. And the thing is, it should be a simple transaction, right? You are a human being, you have currency, and you want to, exchange that currency for a warm beverage.
That's the baseline logic of it, yeah.
But instead, it feels like stepping onto a brightly lit stage where you don't quite know your lines. And there's this very long line of impatient audience members just standing right behind you, staring at the back of your head.
It is a profoundly jarring shift in context, and honestly, it is something that almost everyone struggles with at some point.
I'm so glad you said that, because it feels so isolating.
It does, but it's universal. You're transitioning from a state of seeking comfort, like you want a warm drink, maybe a moment of peace, or just a caffeine boost to jumpstart your brain, to being thrust into this highly structured, fast-paced, almost theatrical performance space.
Theatrical is the perfect word for it.
It really is a stage, and it is one where the script is rigidly defined, even though, no one ever actually handed you a copy of that script at the door.
Right. You're just supposed to know it.
Yeah.
And that is exactly why we're doing this. Because for you, our listener today, our mission is to basically hand you that script.
Exactly.
We are jumping into a really fascinating piece of source material for today's deep dive. It's an ultimate master guide on ordering coffee in English.
And we should clarify, it's not just a vocabulary list.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Our goal for this deep dive is not just to read a list of words to you. I mean, anyone can just pull up a menu on their phone and memorize it.
Right.
We want to decode the entire experience, the sociological dynamics, the linguistic quirks, the physical layout, and really that psychological pressure cooker of the modern cafe.
Because it really is a pressure cooker.
It is. Because when you are ordering coffee in a second language, or honestly, even if English is your native language and you're just walking into a new, intimidatingly hip coffee chain, it feels like a high-stakes linguistic obstacle course.
Oh, for sure. Where the floor is lava?
Yes. The floor is lava. And the barista standing behind that massive espresso machine can feel like this, fast-talking gatekeeper holding your caffeine hostage.
The anxiety you're describing is so palpable. And I want to say right up front, it is entirely valid. It is experienced subjectively by millions of people every single day.
So it's not just in our heads.
No, not at all. But if we pull back the curtain and look at this environment logically, we can completely neutralize that anxiety.
Okay, I like the sound of that. Neutralize the anxiety. How?
Well, the feeling of being tested is real, but the cafe is not actually a test of your overall English fluency. It's not a referendum on your intelligence.
Okay, sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead, if you shift your perspective just a little bit, you'll start to see that the coffee shop is actually a highly predictable, rigidly structured system.
A system. I like thinking of it like that.
Yeah, it has its own internal logic, its own syntax, its own rules of physical engagement. And once you understand the architecture of that system, the fear just vanishes.
So it goes from being a test to a puzzle.
Exactly. It transforms from a terrifying test into a highly solvable puzzle.
Okay, let's unpack that fear then. Because before we even get to the specific words on the menu, we have to talk about the physical environment itself.
The environment is half the battle.
Right. Why does the simple act of buying a cup of coffee induce so much panic? Our source material points out three major stressors that kind of compound on each other. The volume of the space, the physical line of people, and then the highly specific vocabulary.
Let's start with that first one, the sensory overload.
Yeah, because you walk in and it is almost never a serene environment, like ever.
No, it's really not. The acoustics of a modern cafe are genuinely fascinating when you break them down from an analytical perspective.
Fascinating or terrifying.
Well, a bit of both. First, you have the mechanical noise, the grinding of the beans.
Oh, that loud screeching sound.
Yeah. I mean, think about what that sound actually is. It's the sound of dense organic matter being violently crushed by metal burrs.
That paints a picture.
It creates this really harsh, high decibel, irregular sound pattern. And then right after that, you have the steam wand.
The hiss.
The hiss. The physical act of forcing highly pressurized steam into cold milk. It operates at a frequency that naturally, it commands human attention.
Because it sounds like a snake or something.
Exactly. Evolutionary biology has trained our brains to perceive that specific hissing frequency as an immediate physical threat.
Wow. So our brains are literally telling us we're in danger.
Subconsciously, yes. And then, layered over those sharp mechanical sounds, you have the background music, the clatter of ceramic cups hitting saucers, and the overlapping, chaotic conversations of a dozen other patrons.
It's chaos.
From an auditory processing standpoint, you are basically walking into a blizzard.
A blizzard. That is so perfectly put. And in the middle of that auditory blizzard, you're expected to clearly and confidently articulate a highly specific set of desires to a complete stranger.
A stranger who is also operating inside that same blizzard.
Right. Looking at human behavior and, from an AI perspective, analyzing human data, it just seems incredibly counterintuitive.
How so?
Well, think about the baseline state of the person entering the shop. They're usually undercaffeinated. Their cognitive processing speeds are low.
They haven't had their morning fuel.
Exactly. They might be rushing to work, meaning their cortisol levels are already elevated. They're stressed. Why would an entire industry design a physical space that demands high cognitive load and rapid decision-making right when the customers are in their most vulnerable, groggy state?
It really does seem paradoxical at first glance, doesn't it?
Completely backwards.
Because if we were designing a perfectly efficient, frictionless distribution center for caffeine, it would be like a silent, well-lit pod where a touchscreen calmly asks for your preferences in simple text.
Yes. No noise, no pressure.
Just completely eliminating the social and sensory variables.
But human spaces are messy, and the quote-unquote cafe atmosphere is actually a massive part of the product being sold.
They're selling the vibe. They're selling energy. And the ambient noise is a proxy for that energy. The hustle, the bustle, the noise. It all communicates that this is a place of productivity in life.
Oh, so you go there to absorb the energy of the room before you even drink the coffee.
Precisely. However, you are entirely correct that this engineered energy directly conflicts with the second major stressor our guide identifies.
The queue.
The dreaded queue.
The line. The long, impatient line of people waiting behind you. I want to challenge the premise of our source material for a second here.
Okay, let's hear it.
Is it really the specific English vocabulary that terrifies people? Or is it just a deeply ingrained evolutionary fear of holding up the tribe?
Oh, that's an interesting distinction.
Because when you are at the front of that line and you hesitate, even for a second, you can feel it. You feel the subtle sighs, the shifting of weight, the people checking their watches or their phones.
The collective impatience.
Yeah. You are holding up the resource line and the tribe might turn on you. It feels like a survival issue, not a vocabulary issue.
I would actually argue it's the latter driving the former.
How so?
Well, humans are profoundly social creatures, right? And the queue is a fascinating microcosm of the social contract.
Oh, absolutely.
Queuing theory actually shows us that when you are at the front of a line, you are temporarily occupying the primary bottleneck of the group's resource distribution.
The resource bottleneck.
Right. Now, the resource happens to be a vanilla latte. But the psychological mechanism firing in your ancient brain is the same as if it were a scarce water source during a drought.
Wow. Okay, that puts it in perspective.
If you fumble, if you hesitate, if you cannot communicate effectively with the distributor, meaning the barista, you are delaying the gratification of everyone behind you. You feel on a primal level that you are failing the group.
So the vocabulary isn't necessarily the root cause of the fear itself.
No, not the root cause, but it is the critical tool you need to escape the danger zone.
Oh, I see. It's the key to the lock.
That is the key distinction. Mastering the specific vocabulary outlined in this guide is your ultimate tool to alleviate that evolutionary pressure.
Right, because if you know the words, you don't hesitate.
Exactly. When you know exactly what to say, you can execute the transaction swiftly. You please the barista, you satisfy the social contract of the tribe waiting behind you, and you secure your resource.
It's a modern survival mechanism wrapped in commerce. I love that.
It really is. And to survive that encounter, to avoid decision paralysis when you finally reach the front of the line, you must make your first critical choice before you even step up to the register.
Before you even open your mouth.
Yes. You have to lock in the foundational binary.
The foundational binary.
Yep.
Okay, according to our master guide, the absolute first decision you have to make, the fork in the road, is temperature. Hot or iced?
Hot or iced? It seems so basic.
On the surface, yeah, it seems almost too simple to even mention. But the guide emphasizes it heavily as the starting point. Why is it so crucial?
It emphasizes it because that single choice dictates the entire physical trajectory of your order behind the counter.
For the barista.
For the barista, yes. A hot drink and an iced drink require completely different workflows.
Oh, right. Different stations.
Different cups, different preparation areas, different ice scoops, and completely different physical movements across the floor space of the cafe.
So if I walk up and say, I want a caramel latte.
If you start your order by saying you want a caramel latte, the barista is forced to mentally hold that information while their hand hovers in midair.
Caught between the cups.
Caught exactly between the stack of hot paper cups and the stack of cold plastic cups. They literally cannot begin the physical manifestation of your order until you resolve that binary.
That makes perfect sense. If you don't declare the temperature first, you're essentially causing a buffering error in the barista's workflow.
A buffering error, exactly.
You're stalling the machine. So, rule number 1 for navigating this space, for you listening, before you even open your mouth, know your binary. Hot or iced.
Have it locked in.
Okay, so once you have that locked in, we move to the next layer of the cafe lexicon.
Yeah.
And this is where things depart from standard English and get a bit proprietary.
Yes. We're moving from universally understood physical concepts, like hot or cold, into the specific localized dialect of the establishment.
The localized dialect.
And the most notorious, globally recognized example of this is the sizing system.
The sizing system,
Yeah.
yes. Because in almost any normal, everyday context, if you want a quantity of something, you use standard descriptive adjectives, right?
It's small, medium, large.
Small,
Yeah.
medium, large. It's logical. It scales perfectly. If you go to a fast food restaurant and order large fries, you get large fries.
Right.
But coffee shops, and our source material specifically calls out Starbucks here as the prime historical example, they've completely abandoned standard English in favor of their own proprietary brand languages.
It's fascinating linguistically.
It's wild. Small becomes tall, medium becomes grande, large becomes venti. And the guide points out how incredibly confusing this is for learners.
It's a huge stumbling block.
A tall drink is literally the smallest size they offer on the standard menu. I mean, in what linguistic universe does tall mean small?
It doesn't. It is a deliberate linguistic distortion. And to really understand it, we have to look at the psychology of corporate branding.
Okay, put on the psychology hat. Why do corporations invest so heavily in doing this?
Well, it's not an accident. And despite how alienating it feels to a nervous customer, someone just trying to order a coffee, it is not actually designed to confuse you for the sake of confusion.
It's not just to be annoying.
No, it is a psychological tool. By creating a unique lexicon, the corporation is forcing you to adopt their specific reality.
Wow.
When you use their words, you are implicitly agreeing to play by their rules. You are entering their world.
It's like they're forcing you to learn a localized microlanguage just to interact with them.
Exactly. And the psychological payoff for the consumer is actually quite profound once you get past the initial hurdle.
What's the payoff?
Well, when you are a beginner, that proprietary language is a massive barrier. It causes friction and anxiety. You feel like an outsider.
Because you're holding up the line saying medium and they're correcting you.
Right. But once you master it, once you confidently walk in, bypass the word large, and casually order a venti, you experience this subtle internal psychological shift.
Oh, I see where this is going.
You are no longer an outsider fumbling with a foreign menu. You are an insider. You belong to the in-group.
You cracked the code.
You are fluent in the culture of that brand. The company has basically successfully manufactured a sense of belonging and brand loyalty through the use of linguistic gatekeeping.
Linguistic gatekeeping. They create an artificial hurdle, like a tiny little wall, just so you can feel a sense of accomplishment when you jump over it.
Precisely.
It's like a secret handshake disguised as a corporate transaction.
That is a brilliant way to put it.
Okay, so we've navigated the sizing illusion. We have ordered our grande or our large, depending on the cafe's specific dialect. Now we have to figure out what is actually going inside that cup.
The liquid itself.
Right. And this is where we need to demystify what I like to call the coffee core.
The base liquid. The foundational architecture upon which all the subsequent complexity of the drink is built.
Yes. Our source breaks this down beautifully for beginners, keeping it very streamlined. And the absolute center of this universe, the sun around which almost all modern cafe drinks orbit, is espresso.
Espresso.
Now, I know a lot of people entering this space for the first time think espresso is a specific type of coffee bean, or maybe a specific very dark roast. But the guide defines it simply as a strong shot of coffee. Let's expand on what that actually means mechanically in the context of the cafe.
It's a very common misconception. Espresso is not a bean. It is a very specific, highly engineered method of preparation.
A method.
Yes. The word itself comes from Italian, implying something that is pressed out or made quickly for the individual.
Oh, pressed out. Express. That makes sense.
Right. It involves taking finely ground coffee beans, packing them tightly, tamping them down, and forcing a small amount of nearly boiling water through them under immense mechanical pressure.
Like how much pressure?
Usually around 9 bars of atmospheric pressure.
Wow.
It's a lot. And the result of this violent extraction is a tiny, highly concentrated, syrupy, deeply caffeinated liquid known as a shot.
The shot.
It is the purest, most intense expression of the coffee's flavor profile. And in a modern cafe, it is the fundamental building block. If you order a straight espresso, you are literally just getting that tiny, powerful shot in a very small ceramic cup.
I really like to think of espresso as the foundational, like the code base or the operating system of a computer program.
Oh, that's an interesting analogy.
Right, because it's the raw, dense logic. It's powerful, makes everything run. But on its own, it can be a bit too intense or unapproachable for the average end user.
For sure. It's an acquired taste.
So what do? We add a user interface.
A user interface.
Yeah. The water, the milk, the foam. These are the UI layers that dictate how you actually interact with that core espresso program.
I love that.
Let's look at the Drink Anatomy 101 provided by our source. The first variation, the first UI layer, is the Americano.
The Americano, which the source simply describes as espresso with hot water.
Espresso plus water.
Exactly. It compares it to standard black coffee, but the history of how it came to be is quite telling.
Oh, let's hear the history.
The widely accepted origin story traces back to World War II. American soldiers stationed in Italy found the traditional local espresso to be overwhelmingly strong and bitter for their palates.
Because they were used to what? Diner coffee.
Exactly. They wanted something that resembled the large cups of mellow drip coffee they were used to back in the States. So the local baristas began pulling shots of espresso and diluting them heavily with hot water to mimic that volume and strength.
Oh, so that's why it's the Cafe Americano.
Yes. The American coffee. It provides the illusion and volume of a standard cup of black coffee, but because it is built on that pressurized espresso code base, it retains a richer, more complex flavor profile and a slightly different mouthfeel than typical drip coffee.
It's got more bite.
Right. It is the perfect bridge for someone who wants a larger volume drink without introducing dairy.
So the Americano is the espresso plus water user interface. But what if we want comfort? What if we want something rich, heavy, and soothing?
Then you are looking for the latte.
The latte. Our guide defines it as espresso plus a lot of steamed milk.
A lot of milk. The latte is the great smoother of edges in the coffee world.
The smoother of edges.
Yes, because the immense volume of steamed milk completely mellows the sharp intensity and acidity of the espresso. Furthermore, the process of steaming the milk chemically alters it.
Wait, chemically? How?
The heat breaks down the complex carbohydrates and brings out the natural sugars in the milk, which adds a distinct sweetness without adding any actual syrup.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. It creates this creamy, comforting mouthfeel. It is the most approachable, gentle iteration of the espresso family. It is less about the sharp, waking punch of the coffee and more about the warm, sustained embrace of the milk.
The warm embrace of the milk. That perfectly describes why it is so overwhelmingly popular. But what if you want a different physical experience? What if you want something a bit more structurally sophisticated?
Then we move to the cappuccino.
The cappuccino.
Yeah.
Our guide defines this as espresso with equal parts steamed milk and milk foam.
The cappuccino is fundamentally an exercise in structural integrity and texture.
Structural integrity, like building a house.
Kind of. Unlike the latte, which is mostly liquid integrating with the espresso, the cappuccino relies heavily on the aggressive aeration of the milk.
Aeration, so adding air.
Exactly. The barista introduces significant amounts of air into the milk via the steam wand to create a thick, velvety microfoam.
Microfoam.
When constructed correctly, the drink is physically stratified in the cup.
Stratified, like layers.
Layers. You have the dense espresso at the bottom, a layer of liquid steamed milk in the middle, and a thick, pillowy, almost solid cap of foam on top.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
And when you drink it, the coffee has to physically push through that dense layer of foam to reach your palate, creating a highly specific, layered sensory experience that actually changes with every sip.
Wow. Okay, so to recap our anatomy lesson for you listening, the Americano is espresso stretched out with water. The latte is espresso swimming in a deep pool of milk. The cappuccino is espresso wearing a thick, heavy jacket of foam.
That is a perfect summary.
It really is just variations on a single theme.
Yeah.
Once you realize that, the menu stops looking like a random, chaotic list of foreign words and starts looking like a very logical, modular chart of ingredients.
It is entirely modular. You are simply selecting your base components and stacking them.
Stacking the blocks.
However, knowing the base drink is no longer enough to navigate modern coffee culture.
Oh, right, because we've evolved.
We have. 20 or 30 years ago, successfully ordering a latte was the end of the decision tree. You got your drink and you left.
Now it's just the beginning.
Today, selecting the base drink is merely the opening gambit. We have to discuss the customization matrix.
The customization matrix. This is where things get incredibly complicated, but also incredibly personalized. Our source highlights that you are no longer restricted to regular cow's milk.
Not at all.
In fact, the options have exploded over the last decade. We have the traditional dairy spectrum, right? Whole milk, which is the rich, standard option with all its fat content. Sometimes just called regular milk. Then you have skim milk or non-fat milk for those looking to alter the caloric profile.
The classics.
Right, the classics.
Yeah.
But then we enter the plant-based era.
The proliferation of alternative milks is arguably the most significant cultural and logistical shift in cafe operations in recent memory.
It's everywhere now.
The guide lists oat milk, almond milk, and soy milk as the primary alternatives. And what is truly fascinating here is how these alternatives evolved. They transitioned from being niche dietary requirements, specifically for people with lactose intolerance or strict vegan diets, to becoming dominant, mainstream lifestyle preferences adopted by people who could perfectly well digest dairy if they chose to.
Yes, that shift is so apparent. And it brings up something I notice constantly in modern pop culture, looking at human data.
Oh, what's that?
A person's choice of milk has somehow become a proxy for their entire personality and lifestyle.
Oh, 100%.
Right. If someone orders a latte with whole milk, they're often perceived as a traditionalist, maybe someone who appreciates the classics and doesn't care about fleeting trends.
They like things the old way.
Exactly. If they order almond milk, they're perceived as highly health conscious, perhaps a bit rigid about their diet. Maybe they're counting macros.
Very LA.
Very LA. But oat milk, the oat milk drinker has become an entire cultural archetype on the internet.
It really has.
It implies you are trendy, you probably wear vintage clothes, you care vaguely about environmental sustainability, but you also deeply value a creamy texture that doesn't separate in hot liquid.
You want the best of both worlds.
I just find it so funny. How did a liquid squeezed from a grain become a personality trait?
Well, consumer choices in highly visible public social spaces always take on semiotic weight.
Semiotic weight, so meaning?
They become symbols. They become symbols that communicate who we are to the people around us. Ordering oat milk is no longer just a functional dietary preference. It is a broadcast of identity.
You're wearing your milk choice on your sleeve.
Basically, it signals your alignment with current cultural trends and values. The cafe is a stage, as we established earlier, and your highly customized drink is your prop.
Your prop on the stage.
Yes, you're holding it in your hand as you walk down the street. It says something about you.
Yeah.
But milk is just one axis of the customization matrix. We also have to consider the sweetness metric.
The sweetness metric. The flavors, the syrups, vanilla, caramel, hazelnut, peppermint.
Sweet stuff.
This is where people get really intimidated, I think, because they don't know how to quantify their desire for sweetness.
It's hard to measure.
Right. If you just walk up and say, add vanilla to my coffee, you are leaving your fate entirely in the hands of the barista.
You're gambling.
You're gambling. Will it be a subtle hint of vanilla? Will it be a cloying, sugary disaster that makes your teeth hurt? You have no idea.
Yeah.
But our source provides a critical piece of insider knowledge that solves this. A magic word.
The magic word. The pump.
The pump is perhaps the most empowering piece of vocabulary provided in the entire guide.
Empowering. Why?
Because behind the counter, the flavored syrups are stored in large, heavy bottles equipped with a mechanical pump dispenser.
Right.
One full physical depression of that pump yields a standardized volumetric measurement of syrup.
Standardized, so it's always the same. Exactly. Usually about half an ounce, depending on the specific brand the cafe uses. By learning and utilizing this specific unit of measurement, the customer transitions from a passive recipient of whatever the barista decides to do to an active director of their beverage's formulation.
So you're taking control, saying, "Can I get one pump of vanilla?" Sounds so professional.
It does. It sounds like you know what you're doing.
You aren't just guessing anymore. You are calibrating the exact sweetness level of your beverage. If your drink was a little too sweet yesterday when you asked for 2 pumps, you can iterate on your design today and ask for 1 pump.
You iterate, exactly.
You are actively fine-tuning your order. It is like dialing in the exact settings on a high-end stereo system.
It is the ultimate expression of granular control over your consumption.
I love that. Granular control.
And speaking of control in physics, we really must address one of the most counterintuitive phrases in the cafe lexicon.
I know the one you're talking about.
It is a phrase that the guide specifically calls out because it deeply confuses so many non-native speakers and, frankly, even people who just aren't used to coffee shop culture.
The phrase is room for milk.
Room for milk, yes.
Let's set the scene for this one. Let's say you just want a plain hot black coffee.
Keep it simple.
Right. You navigated the menu, you decided you didn't want the intense espresso code base, you didn't want oat milk, you didn't want any pumps of syrup, you just wanted a simple drip coffee.
Oh.
You order it.
Okay.
And the barista looks at you, holding the cup, and asks, "Do you want room for milk?" Or they might just say, "Leave room."
Just leave room.
Yeah. And if you don't know the context, it sounds absurd. Why would they ask someone who just ordered black coffee if they want milk?
It seems like they aren't listening.
Right. But why do they ask?
It is a question born entirely of physics and the spatial layout of the modern cafe.
Physics.
Physics. When a barista pours a standard cup of drip coffee from the urn, standard operating procedure is to fill that paper cup almost to the very brim.
To give you your money's worth.
Exactly. Now, if you, the customer, intend to take that cup, walk over to the self-serve condiment station, and pour in a splash of half and half or milk from a carafe,
you're going to have a problem.
you are going to face a physical impossibility. The cup is already at maximum capacity. If you add more liquid, it will overflow, creating a mess on the counter, potentially burning your hand, and basically violating the social etiquette of keeping the shared cafe space clean.
Nobody wants to be the person who spills the coffee everywhere.
Nobody. So when they ask if you want them to leave room, they are literally asking for permission to intentionally underfill your cup by about an inch or so.
Oh. They are creating a void.
Yes, a negative space in the cup, anticipating your future action at the milk station. It is actually incredibly thoughtful and efficient.
It really is.
But if you don't know the underlying mechanics of why they're asking, it sounds like they are speaking in riddles.
Right. So it's a vital piece of operational vocabulary.
Precisely. If you want black coffee and you intend to drink it purely black, you say no room.
Got it. No room.
They fill it to the top, you get maximum volume. If you want black coffee but plan to add your own milk or cream later, you say, yes, please leave room. You are communicating your future spatial needs.
Communicating future spatial needs. That is so wild to think about. Looking at all this complexity, the precise milk choices broadcasting your identity, the exact number of syrup pumps calibrating your sugar intake, the spatial awareness of leaving room for displacement. I have a broader question for you.
Okay, lay it on me.
Does this hyper-customization actually make the drink taste objectively better? Or is it something deeper?
Deeper in what way?
Like, is it a psychological trick? Think about modern life. The world is chaotic. The news cycle is overwhelming. Traffic is bad. The economy fluctuates.
That's stressful.
Very. We have very little control over the macro elements of our lives. But by God, when I walk into that cafe, I can control exactly how many milliliters of oat milk and how many half pumps of hazelnut go into my morning beverage.
You are the master of your cup.
Exactly. Is this entire system just providing us with an illusion of control?
I think it is undoubtedly a confluence of both. Palates have genuinely become more sophisticated over the years, and people do enjoy the highly specific taste profiles they curate.
Sure, people like what they like.
However, the psychological comfort of asserting total granular control over a small daily ritual cannot be overstated.
It's soothing.
It is. In an unpredictable, chaotic world, a highly customized, perfectly executed coffee order is a micro-victory.
A micro-victory, I love that.
It is a predictable, guaranteed outcome that you authored from start to finish. The complexity of the order is directly proportional to the feeling of agency and control it provides the customer.
The more complex, the more in control you feel.
Yes, but to achieve that micro-victory, you have to be able to successfully communicate that complex order. You need a structure to deliver the data.
Which brings us to the most practical part of our deep dive today.
The formula.
The syntactic magic formula. We have spent all this time gathering the individual vocabulary tokens. We have our temperature, our proprietary size, our base drink, our milk preference, our syrup pumps.
All the pieces of the puzzle.
Right. But holding a handful of vocabulary tokens doesn't mean you can speak the language fluently.
No, it just means you have words.
Exactly. If you just throw them at the barista in the wrong order, the system breaks down. You need a reliable, fail-safe way to string them together into a sentence without freezing up at the register.
Syntax is everything in this environment. You cannot simply list the words randomly and expect the barista to assemble them correctly while simultaneously dealing with the sensory overload we discussed earlier.
That auditory blizzard.
Right. Our source document provides a masterful, highly rigid formula for this exact reason. Let's break down the exact sequence they recommend.
Okay, here's the formula as written in the Ultimate Master Guide. It has 7 specific slots. Let me list them out for you.
Go for it.
Slot 1 is your greeting. Slot 2 is the quantity. Slot 3 is the size. Slot 4 is the temperature. Slot 5 is the drink type. Slot 6 encompasses your customizations. And finally, slot 7 is your location. So, for here or to go.
This is a beautiful piece of linguistic engineering.
7 steps to coffee heaven.
And the reason this specific order works so flawlessly is that it is not arbitrary. It maps perfectly onto the physical and digital reality of the barista standing across from you.
Oh, let's look at the mechanics of the transaction to understand why. We talked earlier about temperature being the first physical split, right? Grabbing a hot paper cup versus a cold plastic cup.
Yes, the physical movement.
But what about the POS system, the point-of-sale computer screen the barista's tapping on?
Ah, the digital reality. When the barista is punching in your order, the software on their screen is organized in a specific hierarchy.
It's not just a blank notepad?
No, it's a very specific interface.
Yeah.
First, they usually need to select the size of the cup to initiate the item on the screen.
Okay, size first.
Then they select the core drink type, the latte or the Americano. Then the software usually forces them to navigate to a sub-menu to input the modifiers, the alternative milks, the specific syrup pumps. So, by speaking in the sequence of the formula provided in the guide, you are essentially dictating the keystrokes to the barista in the exact order their software requires them.
You are literally programming the register for them.
You aren't just ordering a drink, you are helping them do their job efficiently. You are minimizing cognitive friction for both of you.
That is amazing. Let's look at the very first slot in that formula, though. The greeting. The guide gives a pro tip here. Always start with, "Hi, can I get?" or I would like.
Yes, politeness.
It specifically warns learners, never just say, "Give me coffee." This brings up what I call the politeness principle, which varies so wildly between cultures.
It is a crucial distinction, particularly for English learners who might be directly translating from a native language with entirely different politeness markers or grammatical structures.
Because in some languages, being direct is just normal.
Exactly. But in English, direct commands, "Give me a coffee" or "I want a latte," sound incredibly abrasive. They sound like you were speaking to a vending machine, using natural language processing style commands, action, give, object, coffee.
We aren't robots. Humans require linguistic lubrication.
Linguistic lubrication is a perfect term for it. Phrasing your order as a question, "Can I get?" or "May I have?" softens the demand.
It makes it a collaboration.
It frames the transaction as a polite request, a collaboration between two equals rather than an order barked at a subordinate.
Right.
It acknowledges the barista's humanity and autonomy. And practically speaking, a barista who feels respected and spoken to kindly is far less likely to accidentally put whole milk in your drink instead of oat milk.
Happy barista, happy coffee.
Yeah.
The politeness principle really greases the wheels of the entire interaction.
It really does.
I want to test this out. I want to do an extended analogy here.
Okay, I'm ready.
I am going to act as the nervous customer, and I'm going to try to nail a really complex order using the magic formula. And I am going to compare this to structuring a perfect SQL query for a complex database.
Oh, I love this.
Because if the syntax is right, the output should be guaranteed right.
Theoretically, yes.
Okay, let's say I step up to the counter. The music is loud, the espresso machine is hissing, the line is watching me. Here is how the query runs.
Executing query.
Hi there. Can I get... That is the greeting, establishing the polite connection.
Slot 1, check.
That is the quantity.
Slot 2, check.
Grande. The size, successfully utilizing the proprietary lexicon.
Nice. Slot 3, check.
The temperature, establishing the physical cup parameter early.
Very important. Slot 4, check.
Caramel macchiatos. The drink type, our core code base.
Slot 5, check.
With oat milk and just 1 pump of vanilla syrup. The customizations, demonstrating our granular control.
Excellent. Slot 6, check.
Nesquigo, please. The final physical parameter and a polite closer.
As the barista receiving that flawless query, I would say, absolutely. 2 grande iced caramel macchiatos with oat milk, 1 pump vanilla, that will be $14.50. You can tap your card right there.
Yes. The query executed flawlessly. No syntax errors, no buffering, just a smooth transfer of data resulting in the exact desired output.
It is a thing of beauty.
It feels incredible to master that structure.
You managed the cognitive load, you provided the data points in the optimal sequence for the POS system, and you maintained the social contract through politeness.
I survive.
However, just when you think you have successfully executed the formula, you pay and you think you can finally relax.
Wait, what? The gauntlet isn't over.
We must transition to the final and often most jarring phase, the rapid-fire interrogation and post-order panic.
Oh no, the interrogation.
Yes. This is the most perilous part of the interaction for a learner. You deliver your perfect memorized monologue, you feel like a linguistic champion, you are ready to step away.
You let your guard down.
And then the barista hits you with unexpected questions. Fast questions delivered over the noise of the grinder.
Okay, walk me through these. What are they asking?
The master guide decodes these closing questions brilliantly. The first one is often, is that for here or to go?
Oh, right. Now, in your flawless SQL query analogy just now, you proactively answered this at the very end of your formula. But if you forget that 7th slot, the barista has to ask.
And you have to be ready for it.
This requires situational awareness. For here means you intend to sit at a table inside the cafe. They might put your drink in a reusable ceramic mug, depending on the shop.
Which changes the workflow again.
Exactly. To go means you are leaving the premises immediately. You get the disposable paper or plastic cup with a lid.
Got it. What else did they ask?
Then there is the transactional closer. Would you like your receipt? The guide notes, this is a simple yes-no binary. Do you need the physical paper bill for your records? No, thank you, or yes, please.
Okay, that one is fairly straightforward to navigate. Yes or no? I can handle that.
Right. But there is one final question that induces absolute panic in non-native speakers, and frankly, in many native speakers who just happen to have unique names.
The name question.
Can I get a name for that? Or the more abrupt version, name for the order. The psychology of the nickname. Let's dive into this. Why do they even need your name in the first place?
Logistics.
Because the person taking your money is rarely the person actually making your drink, right?
Yeah.
You write your name on the cup, pass it down the line, and the barista at the end is going to yell that name across the crowded room when the drink is ready.
Right. It's how they connect the product to the consumer at the end of the line.
But imagine you are an international student or a tourist, and your name is beautifully complex. It is deeply rooted in your native language and culture, but it is completely foreign to the phonetic rules and spelling conventions of English.
It's a recipe for confusion.
The barista asks for your name, you say it, they stare at you blankly, they ask you to repeat it, they ask you to spell it over the loud music, while the line behind you sighs heavily.
It is a nightmare scenario.
It is.
It is a moment of profound vulnerability. You are trying to communicate your core identity in an environment that is actively hostile to nuance.
Hostile to nuance, wow.
And our master guide provides a remarkably pragmatic, if somewhat controversial, pro tip to bypass this trauma entirely.
What's the tip?
If your name is difficult for English speakers to spell or pronounce, Just give them an easy, common English nickname.
I have to push back on this advice.
Really? Why?
I have a real problem with this framing. Isn't telling someone to use a fake name essentially telling them to give up?
I see where you're coming from.
Shouldn't people be proud of their real names regardless of where they are? Isn't it the barista's job to learn how to spell diverse names, or at least try?
Ideally, yes.
Telling a learner to just call themselves Bob or Anna to make a commercial transaction smoother feels a lot like identity erasure. It feels like we are telling the learner to shrink their heritage to fit comfortably inside a corporate system.
I understand that perspective completely, and it is a deeply valid cultural concern. In a classroom, in a workplace, among friends, your name is your identity, your heritage, and it demands respect.
Absolutely.
But we must logically reframe the specific context of the coffee shop.
Okay, reframe it for me.
The cafe POS register is not a place for deep identity validation or cultural exchange.
It's not.
No. It is an engine of commerce. This nickname strategy is not about erasure. It is an efficiency hack.
An efficiency hack.
To the barista, in that specific fleeting moment, your name is not your soul. It is not your family history. It is simply a temporary transaction identifier.
A temporary transaction identifier.
It is a string of random characters used to match a specific human body to a specific cup of liquid at the end of the counter. That is the entirety of its function.
Wow. A temporary transaction identifier. That takes all the emotion right out of it.
Yes. Treating it like a profound statement of self places far too much emotional weight on a fleeting, low-stakes commercial interaction.
That's a really good point. We're asking too much of the coffee shop.
Exactly. If you view the nickname not as erasing your identity, but as creating a playful alter ego specifically designed to navigate this obstacle course, it completely changes the dynamic.
It makes it fun.
It makes the cafe experience more fun and significantly less stressful. You are slipping on a disguise to bypass the security system. Today, I am John. Tomorrow, I am Max.
I love that.
It removes the friction and allows you to secure the resource, the coffee, without the exhausting emotional labor of spelling your beautiful, complex name 3 times over the screech of a steam wand.
I really love that reframing. It is not identity erasure. It is espionage.
Espionage, exactly.
You are a secret agent operating under an alias to secure the asset. The name is Bond. James Bond. And I would like a grand flat white.
Perfect.
That totally changes the energy from anxiety and submission to empowerment and playfulness.
It is about choosing where to expend your emotional energy. Save the defense of your complex name for meaningful, lasting human interactions, not for a barista with a Sharpie marker and a disposable paper cup.
Okay, so with our alias secured, we have successfully guided you, the listener, through the entire gauntlet.
We made it to the end.
From walking through the door and managing the sensory overload to locking in the HOTUS temperature binary.
Decoding the proprietary corporate sizes.
Understanding the deep espresso code base.
Navigating the vast customization matrix of milks and syrups.
Flawlessly executing the syntactic magic formula.
And surviving the rapid-fire interrogation using a tactical alias.
You finally have the cup in your hand.
It is a significant achievement to master this process. It really is.
But as we pull back to look at the broader picture of language learning and confidence building, we must emphasize the ultimate reality check provided at the very end of our source document.
Oh, this is the most important part.
It is such a comforting truth to end on. The guide reminds you, even native English speakers stumble over their coffee orders. All the time.
Constantly.
People freeze up, they forget to say iced, until the very end, they stumble over the proprietary-sized games. And crucially, baristas make mistakes all the time, too.
They're human.
Right. They hear oat instead of whole over the noise. They forget the syrup pump. They misspell even the simplest names. The system is inherently flawed because it relies on rapid human communication in a loud, distracting room.
That is the core takeaway for any learner right there.
What's the takeaway?
The ultimate goal of studying this master guide is not grammatical perfection. It is not about never, ever making a mistake. It is about building functional confidence.
Functional confidence.
Yes. It is about knowing the rules of the game well enough that when you do inevitably stumble or when the barista misunderstands you, you don't panic.
You just correct it.
You know how the system works, so you know how to correct the error calmly. You know you belong in that space just as much as anyone else in the line.
Functional confidence over perfection. That should be the mantra for any language learner in any context.
1000%.
We have covered so much ground today. We acknowledged the genuine fear of the cafe environment. We mastered the core vocabulary. We utilized the magic formula to streamline the data transfer. And we learned how to survive the closing questions with strategic aliases.
We have essentially decoded an entire subculture.
We really have.
We have examined a highly specialized, localized microlanguage that was invented purely to facilitate the buying of a morning beverage. The coffee shop truly is its own tiny civilization, complete with its own laws, linguistics, and social contracts.
And that leaves me with a final provocative thought for you to ponder as you go about your day.
Oh, let's hear it.
We just spent this entire deep dive breaking down the invisible rulebook of the coffee shop. But what other mundane, everyday routines in your life have secretly developed their own invisible rulebooks and vocabularies?
That is a great question.
Think about the gym and the etiquette of occupying equipment. Or think about the airport security line and the unspoken rules of the conveyor belt.
Oh, the airport is a whole other language.
Right. Think about walking down the line at a fast casual salad restaurant. What other hidden menus and systems are you navigating every single day without even realizing you are speaking a highly specialized dialect?
The world is full of these micro-languages and complex systems just waiting to be decoded.
It really is. So the next time you step into that bustling, loud, intimidating cafe, don't look at it as a test of your worth or your language skills.
Not at all.
Look at it as a system you have already hacked. You have the script. You know the syntax. Now go get your coffee.
And there you have it. Ordering coffee in English doesn't have to be scary. Remember our magic formula, take a deep breath, and try it out on your next coffee run. If you enjoyed this lesson and want to keep building your everyday English confidence, hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell.